Hi 7th graders, I hope you've been doing well. Today we are going to start our first unit of Chapter 3, which is all about algebra. So today's lesson is all about writing algebraic expressions, and our learning target is that I can translate sentences to algebra using words that mean add, subtract, multiply, or divide. So let's get started. The first thing we want to think about are different words that mean add, subtract, multiply, and divide. So I think the first word that we should think of is what the answer to an addition problem is. So the answer to an addition problem is sum. The answer to a subtraction problem is difference. The answer to a multiplication problem is product. And then the answer to a division sentence is quotient. Now let's try to think of a few other words that mean add. So when I think of add, I think of more or more than, or plus. Okay? Now with subtraction, I think of less than or minus. Multiplication, I think of twice or triple or times. Alright, and then division, I think of equal groups, equal parts. I'm dividing things up. So I'm going to write dividing. There are so many more that you could think of, but I think that's a good place to start. If you can think of others on your own, you can go ahead and add them, but let's keep moving on. Alright, so our next section is to translate algebraic expressions into word phrases. So, for example, we have g plus 3 for number 1. We need to write a word phrase for that algebraic expression. So this sentence starter over here will get us started. So I am adding. What is the answer to an addition problem called? It's called sum. So right here we write the sum of, and then what are we adding together? We're adding g and 3. So our sentence is the sum of g and 3. Alright, number 2. We're taking y minus 5. So the first thing we want to think about is, what am I doing in this problem? Am I adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing? Right, I'm subtracting, and the answer to a subtraction problem is difference. So the difference of y and 5. I hope you're catching on. Let's move on to number 3. This time, there's no sign in between the 8 and the x. It always means we're multiplying. So the answer to a multiplication problem is the product. So our sentence is going to say the product of 8 and x. Alright, and our last one. We have m divided by 9. I'm dividing. The answer to a division problem is the quotient. So we are finding the quotient of m and 9. Alright, and we have just translated algebraic expressions into word phrases. I hope that went okay. If you're still struggling, let me know and I will help you out with it. Our next section is all about translating word phrases into math expressions. So now we need to figure out what we're going to write as a math problem instead of just seeing it in words. So let's look at number 1. We have 1 more than the product of 12 and p. Alright, so I see 1 more, and then I also see the product of 12 and p. The product means I'm multiplying. So I'm going to multiply 12 times p. And if you want, you could put a multiplication sign in between there, but you don't need one because 12 with p right next to it means multiply. Alright, so I have one more than the product of 12 and p. So I'm done with this part. How do I figure out what one more is? I know I'm going to have a 1, but what's the more stand for? It stands for adding. So my algebraic expression is 12 times p plus 1. Alright, let's look at number 2. 6 minus the quotient of u and 2. Alright, so I have 6 minus, and I have the quotient of u and 2. And if you look up here, that one looks pretty similar to this. So we are dividing u divided by 2, because quotient means divide. So I'm done with this part. Now I have the 6 minus. What does minus mean? Yeah, it means subtraction. So I'm taking 6 minus the quotient of u and 2. And we're done. Alright, number 3. 4 less than a number n divided by 2. Alright, so I have two different things I see. I see 4 less, and then I have a number n divided by 2. So let's just go through the problem and let's label what operations we're doing. So with 4 less, what does that less stand for? Yeah, it stands for subtraction. Alright, so we have 4 less than a number n divided by 2. Divided means we're dividing. Alright, so we have 4 less than a number n divided by 2. So let's start with our divided. We don't know our first number, so it's an n. So you have n divided by 2. Now I have 4 less than that number. So that means whatever this answer is, I'm subtracting 4 from it. So I have 4 less than whatever this is, a number divided by 2. Alright, let's go to the last one. 2 times the sum of x and 7. Alright, so I have 2 times, and then I have the sum of x and 7. So times means multiply, and the sum means add. Alright, so I have 2 times, but now if you notice I have the sum of x and 7. So that means I'm going to be taking x plus 7. But if I write it like this, is that going to be saying I'm taking 2 times whatever this is? No, that's saying I'm taking 2 times x. So I need to put parentheses around my x plus 7. Because now it's saying I'm taking 2 times whatever the sum of x and 7 is. Alright, let's move on to our next section. This time we're going to write expressions from word problems. So we have this little table. We are going to figure out which operation each sentence is telling us. So our first one is to put parts together. So if I have 4 different parts and I'm putting them together, I am adding them. Alright, my next section, or my next sentence, put equal parts together. So if I'm putting equal parts together, that means I'm multiplying. If I want to find out how much more or how much less, that tells me I'm subtracting. And lastly, if I want to separate into equal parts, when I'm separating, I'm really dividing. Alright, so with that, let's look at our last 2 problems. Whoops. Alright, Number 1, Dea types 62 words per minute. We need to write an expression for the number of words she types in m minutes. So the first thing we need to do is we need to define a variable. What a variable is it's just it's just a letter that stands for a number. So I think we should do m minutes. So our variable is m, our variable is m, and that stands for minutes. So that's all you have to do for defining a variable. Now we need to actually write an algebraic expression that figures out what this is asking. So if Dea types 62 words per minute, we want to figure out how many words she types in however many minutes. So what do you think we're going to be doing? Are we going to be adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing? Yeah, this word per here means we're multiplying. So we're going to be taking 62 times the number of minutes that she's typing for to figure out how many total words she can type. And we're done. Alright, number 2. Tyler plants a cypress tree that is 10 inches tall. Each year its height increases by 15 inches. Write an expression for the height of the tree after y years. So it kind of tells us what our variable is, but we're just going to write that out. We want to figure out how many years, or how tall the tree will be in a certain number of years. Do we know how many years they want us to figure it out for? No, so that's why we're using y, and y stands for years. Alright, so Tyler plants a cypress tree that is 10 inches tall. So right when he plants it, it's already 10 inches. But each year its height increases by 15 inches. What does the word increase mean? Am I adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing? Yeah, I'm adding. So here's how we figure this out. When Tyler plants the tree, it's 10 inches tall. It already came with some height. But each year its height is increasing. So increasing means I'm adding. And it's increasing 15 inches every year. So do we know how many years the tree has been growing for? We don't, so we need to take 15 times y. Alright, so that is our first lesson on 3.1, all about writing algebraic expressions. I hope it went well. If you're struggling, please let me know. Otherwise, if you watched all the way to the end of this video, your secret word for today is turkey. Message me that word and you will get a bonus point on any assignment you don't have a 10 out of 10 on. Otherwise, 7th graders, have a great day.